Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I just want to let you know that you'll always be a part of me and I'm a part of you indefinitely. And don't you know that you can't escape me because you'll always be my maybe? Always Be My Maybe is a new 2019 Netflix comedy starring Ali Wong and Randall Park as two childhood best friends who, after an awkward falling out as teenagers, are reacquainted with one another as adults, and more awkwardness between the two returns as romantic tension comes to the surface.
Oh, there he is!
My God.
I feel like Always Be My Maybe was made because Crazy Rich Asians was such a big hit. I was never a fan of Crazy Rich Asians. I found Crazy Rich Asians to be kind of boring. I was never really into it in the first place. I didn't know what to expect from Always Be My Maybe. It did look funny though, because I do like Randall Park. So I didn't know what to expect with this movie. Is it just another rom-com that doesn't really hold any weight? Or is it actually funny? Is it endearing? Is it something that I would like to see over and over again? Because I'm not totally against rom-coms. I'm not. I like some of them. So what kind of rom-com is this? Let's find out. First off, I want to say I really like Randall Park and Ali Wong in these roles. They have a really great chemistry. They work very, very well together. It's very believable. It's very natural. It has a little bit of a rough start in the beginning of the movie because these actors play teenagers because, yeah, they're childhood friends, so it has to kind of show that. Their characters at that point, not so believable. When they're adults, it is believable. That's 90% of the movie, so I'm not really complaining that much. However, here's why I am complaining. The chemistry that I felt in the movie was very good, but it's not exactly the chemistry that I imagined it to be. Like, I didn't feel the romantic chemistry. I felt more of a respect chemistry, like more of a business chemistry, like two comedians that work really, really well together, than I did romantic chemistry. And that was probably my main concern with the movie. Everything else is totally fine, but it doesn't stand out as great or bad. It's just cinematically monotonous. The acting is fine, for instance, but it's not anything that I was emotionally invested with. Also, you're probably going to remember it more for the actors playing the parts than you're going to remember the parts themselves. You're not going to really remember the characters, just the people playing them. Also, they all kind of blend in together because there's not much story, which I'll get into in a second, but for the people category, that's rated 13 out of 20 possible stars. The writing itself is very similar to other rom-coms just like it, basically meaning there is no real focus on a narrative. So none of these characters are actually trying to do anything. They're not trying to solve any kind of problems. There's no protagonist or antagonist. Some people like that, some people don't. For me, I personally like a good narrative because I like a good story, and a good story can't exist without a good narrative, at least not anything that's solid. And there isn't anything super solid in this movie when it comes down to the writing. However, it does focus a lot on the dialogue because it's a comedy, and the dialogue is done very, very well. It's very funny a lot of the times. I think that alone made me interested enough to keep watching the movie because it is funny, it is endearing, it is sweet. The story itself isn't always there, but it is a feel-good film, and that's basically the main reason you watch it. It's definitely not original, and it certainly doesn't really feel like it's super deep or meaningful. It's a good time, you know? It's just feel good, that's it. 6 out of 10 possible stars for writing. Nothing is that exciting or surprising about how I rated behind the scenes. This is exactly as I imagine it would probably be scored because most comedies, most modern comedies specifically, are rated exactly this way. That's not what it's about. It's just not. It's a movie that wants to make you laugh and feel something and feel connected to characters, and that has nothing to do with behind the scenes. It has nothing to do with visuals or cinematography or editing or anything like that. So they don't waste manpower on these things that aren't going to make a lick of difference. 6 out of 10 possible stars. Now, like I said, the narrative structure is kind of weak, but the narrative arc from a basic standpoint is just okay. The introduction did a very good job introducing you to who these characters are, what they're going through with life. The inciting incident is basically when these two people meet again when they are adults, which is fine and everything, but it doesn't feel like crossing of the threshold. It doesn't feel like you can't go back. It's nothing like that. There's one main obstacle, and that main obstacle is basically dealing with these emotions that are coming to the surface. Good culminating event by the end of the movie for the climax, and the following action does calm down, return to a sense of norm. 8 out of 10 for the narrative arc. I've already said that this is a feel-good movie, then that usually signifies that it has some level of entertainment to it, so how true is that? I would say that it is decently entertaining, nothing that blows your socks off, but there are elements in the movie that you'll have a good time with. Nothing amazing. So yes, I had a good time with the movie, enough to the point where I'd say I wouldn't have a problem rewatching it. I probably wouldn't seek it out. I also often felt like I couldn't pause or look away from the movie because I might miss something fun. Nothing interesting or nothing important, just fun. Don't really care to own this, don't really care to tell others about it. It's just something that you could watch once and be done with. 4 out of 10 possible stars for entertainment. Specialty category, what do you expect to find out of Always Be My Maybe? Alright, it's a rom-com, so let's look at the romance, let's look at the comedy. Like I said before, I never really felt that romantic chemistry between the two actors. They had amazing chemistry, don't get me wrong, amazing chemistry. However, I didn't feel the romance part of it. I'll give it 5 out of 10 for that. The comedy itself was pretty strong. I did laugh quite a bit in the movie, especially for a Netflix movie. Netflix movies don't always grab my attention that much, but this one did. This one was pretty funny. I did have a good time with it for the most part, so for this, I will give it 10 out of 10. Randall Park has been making waves for me. I've been seeing him in more and more things, and he's always funny, so I wanted to see how he does in a role where he's the main character. He didn't disappoint. I think if I'm thinking about him as an actor, I will think about this movie. It did make that much of a wave. Not much more than that, but he did a good job. 10 out of 10. Halfway decent. Did they make the movie they intended to make from the get-go? Yes. Altogether, 35 out of 40 possible stars for the specialty category. If we add up all these points together, we get 72 out of 100 possible stars. 72%, which is a weird score. I usually give that to some lackluster action films, but that's what it is, 72%. Guys, tell me what you thought of Always Be My Maybe in the comments down below. As for YouTube, you know you can subscribe to me, hit that like button, hit the bell to be notified when I come out with my next review. Peace out.